Hey everybody, I'm Chris from RxM, and today we're going to be talking about Linkerd. In a service mesh architecture, one of the ways that we transparently add these features is through the use of proxy containers. And this is typically done through automation, so that, again, we don't have to define what proxy container we're going to use in our pod specs, in our deployment specifications. What they do is they get auto-injected. Both Linkerd and Istio provide this type of auto-injection through a Kubernetes admission controller, right? So it's basically done in flight. So if I have a deployment manifest and I want to submit that to a Kubernetes cluster, either with kubectl apply or by using a CD tool like Argo or something like that, right? The request comes from the user, whether the user is a human or a CD tool, to the Kubernetes API. And as it goes through the various stages, auth N, auth Z, the last stage being admission control, it will get mutated so that the proxy container gets added to the pod spec. So any pod that gets deployed within a mesh architecture gets this proxy container. And you don't have to have these proxy containers in every single namespace in a Kubernetes cluster. We can pick and choose. Typically, this is done with like a label or an annotation, so that we put that extra metadata on the namespace, and then all the pods that get submitted to that namespace get the proxy container. But other namespaces where maybe we don't want that feature, we can leave that off, and then they don't get containers. The goal here, though, in a mesh is that all the communication into and out of a microservice container goes through the proxy. This is typically done through like IP tables manipulations. So again, mutating the net filter and ensuring that the application container or microservice container really can only communicate with its proxy, and the proxy will then communicate with its control plane to get things like targets for different services, right? So essentially endpoints in a Kubernetes cluster, so that it knows how to load balance from the client side. So that's one of the features. It can do automatic retries, so that if a request fails going across the mesh, we can retry that request. We can have timeouts, so that we only attempt so many times. We can do things like traffic splits. So you can do this on things like headers to do A/B tests. You can do it on percentages, so that it's a canary. Let's say you want to do 99% to your production and 1% to your canary, right? All these things are possible through changing the configuration of standard Kubernetes objects like routes.